Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the playground. If you're new here, thank you for joining us. Today, I want to have a little bit more casual conversation, a little bit of story time, and just kind of share some tidbits that I think will help us all right now as we have felt things just being shifted for us, rearranged. I feel like this last month, I've talked a lot about paying attention and not being able to like commit to the same things, right? Like our discernment, what we are tolerating, what feels resonant has really shifted. And I guarantee if you haven't felt that yet, as I'm recording this, you will as we get further into August. It's the day before Lionsgate Portal 8/8. So I feel like this is just amplifying. And I thought that, well, I guess I didn't really think. I was told that this story would really help um just kind of highlight like why. Why do we care about our intuition? And why, like, what if we don't want to, right? Like, I don't know. I don't even know what questions are being asked, I guess, but there's this energy that I feel of like if I admit being intuitive, then I have to do something about it. And you know, you don't have to, right? Like you can be really intuitive and still choose to make decisions from your mind or from other people's opinions, or we've talked about all the things that can kind of take you off track of listening to your intuition. But I'm going to be the first person to say that, like, that's not right nor wrong. And I just think that there's this energy of being intuitive and following our intuition. It's going to be really hard work because things are unexpected. Things move around. I have to shift how I do things. And I don't know that if you're listening to this podcast, that's probably not you, but I know there's people in your life that do think that and that might actually have that opinion about how you live. And I have really embraced my intuitive living, and I think it's so fun to just see like the different angles that you can come from with being intuitive. And I sometimes thought, like, how am I really intuitive with all this other energy around me? And it's like I don't serve anyone at my best unless I'm tuning into my intuition. And I've really learned that through experience and just getting in there and like making the small decisions. So I want to share today about my paper route, how I came about getting my paper route, what happened when I signed up for the paper route, and just kind of like how things played out. Because it was a very intuitive decision to do the paper route. And it's one of those things that I don't know that everyone fully understands, especially if they're not in the spiritual space of like being intuitive doesn't mean like you're all over the place all the time. It could, but actually the intuitive nudges, the knowings, the downloads, whatever we want to call them, they don't require chaos. That's not a requirement to play out. And so like if there's an intuitive knowing or nudge, like you're going to decide, right? And let's say you decide, okay, I'm going to follow this intuitive knowing. Like know that like it doesn't have to play out in one way. And I think and I talked about this before, but it's like a lot of the portrayals and the descriptions of intuitives, of spiritual people, especially in media, have been like they can't stay on the ground. Like they can't operate on Earth and 3D. Like the 3D stuff is really hard for them. And I know, I mean, me even, like I've really had to like say, okay, like I understand I am very spiritual, I'm very connected, I am intuitive, I'm psychic, but like I'm here on earth and I'm living my life here on earth. So like I had to find the balance. I had to be grounded and live in the clouds. And if any of this is like, yes, 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 you want more, like check out my most recent episodes because it's all dealing with like that. But yeah, I want to get into the story and just really share about what it looks like to be intuitive, to remain open, to just allow the unexpected to happen and it not feel like chaos. Like it does not have to be disruptive in the sense of your nervous system is all out of whack. If you get what I'm saying. So, okay. I would say, let's see. Let's go back. I applied for a paper route back in March, maybe. And at that time, it might have been before March. It wasn't super cold, so it was probably March because I don't think I would have applied if it was like snow on the ground. But back in March, I had the thought, okay, I need to break up my schedule, my routine. I actually wanted, this is funny in retrospect, but at that point, I felt really uneasy with my schedule and my routine. And I had the guidance to like add something in, and it will like create kind of like these pockets where I will feel like, okay, this is the time I have to do this, and you know, so on and so forth. And so I started looking around for some jobs. I thought of like a few volunteer things. I thought of some jobs. I thought of like all kinds of things that I could do. And basically what I did was I looked like online and just thought about different businesses. And I asked myself, is this yes or no, just to apply, not even to like take the job or anything. And the reason the reflection of this is just wild. But the reason I thought, okay, job or like something income producing or something networking is like, I want to be around people, or if I'm not around people, then I want to be really intentional with like that time. So I want to be doing something that I'll enjoy, that is kind of mundane. Like I don't have to like be super creative because obviously I do a lot of creative work in my business. So I had this kind of like thought of like, I want to be around animals. Maybe I want to just do something that like I can show up and do it and be gone and, you know, like simple, and maybe welcome in some more cash injections here and there. So I was on Indeed one day and I was like, paper route. Like my ego really wanted to say no because like early mornings, and I didn't know like how that would work. But at the time, my wife didn't have her current job. So I don't know when this was. It was earlier in the year. But I was like, yeah, it could work. Well, at that time, so back in March, we're going to say March, somebody called me from the paper and left me a message. And I called them back. I left them a message. And that was it. I just never, we never connected. And I actually applied a few animal places, like an animal hospital and like a pet store. And I interviewed, but I just knew like that's not it. That's not what I want to do. And it was one of those things where it's like that would be really fun, but that's a distraction. Like that's not actually going to give me what I need right now. And my ego was saying, you need income, you need, if you're going to give up some of your time, like you need to be paid for it. That was kind of that. And it was it's just the things that were showing up was like, no, no. And literally like the week after that, my wife's schedule was kind of solidified. It must have been the same time she got the job that she got her current job, but it was kind of solidified, and that just kind of put me on a hold because I wanted to figure out life with her schedule and adjusting mine. And we had like school finishing up. Like it was just a lot of things where I was like, okay, I'm gonna put this on hold. I'll come back to it if I feel the call too. And what happened at that point with my schedule is I just was able to move things around where it felt kind of expansive for me. And I was able to like shift some things where I was like, okay, this feels good. So that was that. That was all that happened. Like I applied a few places. I actually interviewed a couple places, but I just knew I was like, no, this isn't how I want to be spending my time. And then it was June and I got a random phone call. And, right before I'll pause that because right before that, I was getting the messages like, you need spaciousness, you need time to just be, you need to see where you're giving your quote unquote time away to things that are not important. And I was like, okay, show me, and like there were things that I could think of, but when I was tuning in, it was like, no, like this is bigger than that. Like you need 2 to 3 hours uninterrupted every day. And I was like, okay, so I wake up early. Like I just kind of like was playing with ideas and what felt good and what didn't feel good, where my ego was trying to like stop me or say like, no, it has to be this, like that. If there's like something in my life where I only see one solution, I really pay attention there because like that's not my truth. Like there is limitless solutions to everything. Like I just believe that. And so I kept getting this message of like, your schedule's going to be rearranged. Even like I work with a number of people and they're like, your schedule's really going to get turned around soon. And I'm like, my lights just turned on. That's fun. So it was reflected back to me that things were going to shift around and I was like, what's going to happen? Like what's going to be new? Like I'm pretty set with like time frames per se, like in my schedule. Like I know when the kids are going to be gone, I know when they're going to be here, and I know when I'm going to have calls, and not like, there's obviously flexibility in everything that I do, but like I was like, this is interesting. No idea what was going to happen. And then like a little bit after that, I got a phone call and I don't answer my phone if I don't know the number. And so this person left a message and it was basically like, hey, this is the paper and we know you applied a long time ago, but we're wondering if you want to pick up a route. That was like, the timing of that was wild because it was just like, wait, this is like months later for one, and two, like what? Right now? And it's summer, like a lot of me just wanted to be like, no. Like no, 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 because like I like to be able to just go places. So I didn't know exactly if it would be every day or like what that would look like, if I could even do it, because my wife's schedule, I was like, I don't know. Like obviously all the flags were going off for my ego. And it was like, no, but you know me. I sat with that for just a minute and it was loud and clear, like call him back. So I called the guy back and was like, yeah, like I'm interested still. Let's meet up. And I met with him the following Monday. I think it was a Friday that we talked, and met with him on Monday. And basically it was going to work out with my schedule, like with needing to be back before my wife goes to work. And, it was just like in that moment, I was like, well, I already know the answer. Like I already know that this is the opportunity that I need right now. And so I had the weekend to kind of think about that. I said, if the schedule works out, like, is this my next step, like what I need to do? And my guys are just laughing at me. Like, you don't mean if, right? Like you'll know. And I mean, that was it. Like I had to have the papers done before my wife needs to leave for work anyway. So it was just like, they were kind of laughing at me. They're like, you know that this is what you need right now. And I will say, it was kind of like, this is where your intuition just comes in, because like everything else was like, this doesn't make sense. I wake up with the kids and spend all day doing things or resting or, tuning into my guides. Like, I'm pretty much like a busy person all day, right? According to my last podcast episode. And so it was like, my ego was like, when are you going to sleep? and that was actually the first response to the first person I told was, when are you going to sleep? And I simply just said, like, at night. Like, I'm gonna sleep at the same time. I might go to bed earlier, but like that's when I'm gonna sleep. And I am actually like, it's just so funny because every objection or like opinion I received about having a paper route, like, was not even a thought in my head going into it, except like my own ego thoughts, like my own processing. But I just knew. The second I met with the guy at the paper, I just knew. I was like, okay, I need to do this. And I mean, I think I knew before that, but that's when I was like, full body, it doesn't matter what my mind is saying. And that's really when my mind gets on board, is like, okay, she's doing this, so we gotta just go along with it. And then that's when I'm really able to like shift some of those mindset beliefs and thought patterns that are happening. But I just knew. So anyway, I ended up starting the next day. Like, I just didn't play around. I was like, if I'm going to do this, I need to start right now. And so I started the next day. And I mean, besides the fact that, like, yes, getting up in the middle of the night was an adjustment, it was not like stressful at all. So I go the first day and I had to be like escorted, like my district manager went along with me and it was fine. And she's like, okay, you got this, like, go by yourself tomorrow. So day 2, I go by myself, and I knew exactly. I knew some of the things right away that I needed to pay attention to, because one, like, when I got into this, what was weird was like, you can do your paper route, and I have to drive, like, it's a driving paper route. It's sporadic. There's not very many people read the paper or get the paper delivered anymore. So I do drive, and it's like, okay, what am I going to listen to? And like the first month, I listened to nothing but like binaural beats or like music without lyrics. At times, if I needed something, I would listen to like an audiobook or a channel message or something that was setting the frequency for my day. And this was almost subconscious. Like, I didn't really think about it, except like the first few days, I was like, I can't listen to anything right now. And if I can, like, it's got to be something that I'm not trying to like process mentally. And so, it was really just an initiation for me to fully surrender to an experience. And not many people, I think, enter a situation just like full surrender. And that's what I had to do. And that was part of the reason why, like, I think it wasn't hard for me to like start waking up earlier or doing this physical activity first thing in the morning, or like being by yourself. I don't know. Like, there's lots of things that I feel like my younger self would have just said, no, I'm not doing that. And I told my wife, like, very early on, I said, I know this is like for me to show myself that like this connection time, this me time, getting up earlier is not an issue. Like, it's available to me. And I don't have to do a paper, like, and that was the thing, because I was like laughing early on. I was like, why is it a paper route? Like, why? And I'll get into some of that, but it was from the beginning, I knew, I was like, this is to show me where I'm giving away my power. And my power right now is in what, like, my priorities, what I'm choosing to do with my time, what I'm choosing to do each day, how I'm showing up. Like, when I would wake up and just automatically go to the kids, it's a wreck. Like, for me, emotionally, energetically, it's a wreck. And like, it's manageable, obviously. Like, I do it if I have to, because sometimes they wake me up and sometimes it's like a middle of the night thing. Like, if you're a parent, think about this. It's like the waking up in the middle of the night, like, that can be so triggering. And I really am somebody who was triggered, like, by being woken up. And like, why aren't you in bed? Like, come on. Like, for especially older kids, like, I'm just like, what are you doing? You can't sleep. Why are you waking me up? You know? And like, I did have that response for a long time. And then, like, to wake up and go serve right away, honestly, in full transparency, is not my jam. Like, it's just not, because I am somebody who values connecting with myself, who wants to tune into my energy first before feeling the energy of everyone around me. And being able to, one, understand that, and that, like, there's nothing wrong with me for being that way, to accept that, and then to be able to express that and communicate my needs around that, like, has been years in the making. And so it's like, I got really good at waking up and having time to myself, even if, like, I do see, like, obviously my kids live with me, uh, even if, like, they're there, like, I'll say good morning to them, I'll say hello to them, but, like, before fully, like, being in their energy, I do take time to myself, even if it is a couple minutes. Like, this is important. And, now my kids, like, just know, and they know that, like, I'm a little bit slower in the morning to want to dip my toes in all the energy. Whereas I have a son who literally wakes up and, like, runs. Like, he's ready to go. He's ready to tell me about all his dreams. He's ready to invite me to do all these things and has a whole plan for what he wants to do in the morning, and then needs snacks, and then needs this. It's like, he's just ready to go. And that's different than me. And that's all. And so, anyway, got a little sidetracked there. But I knew that this was showing me where I'm really giving away my power and I'm settling into energies that I don't have to. And it's like, I feel like I needed the extra time in solitude to see that, like, to see what's available. And it doesn't have to be through a paper route. It doesn't have to be by waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Because I will tell you, when I'm done with this paper route, I'm not going to continue waking up at 3 in the morning unless, like, I feel called to. But it's not going to be every day. I know that, because I also enjoy staying up until 9, 10 o'clock at night. And, there's give and take. And there's, like, the things that I'm going to take away from this are, like, huge. So anyway, I got settled in. It took me, like, I don't know, a couple weeks to really get down my paper route, but it's not hard, right? Like, it's really not hard. I go pick up my papers, I roll them, I drive back, and because what's funny is, like, I deliver papers in my neighborhood, but I have to drive like 15 minutes away to go get the papers. So it's good to come back and, like, be close to home. And I thought that was significant. Like, how cool is that the paper route in my neighborhood is available? So of course I grabbed that one. And this was really an opportunity for me to, like I said, just surrender to an experience. And I made sure to stay open to, like, whatever I needed to be. Like, it started getting, like, pay attention. Like, every day my message was like, pay attention, pay attention. I'm like, I'm paying attention. I'm ready, And it's like, this is where your intuition really is fun. We're at the playground. We have to make it fun, because it's like, pay attention. Okay. Like, I have to pay attention to my paper route because that's what I'm doing, but I'm also paying attention and to, like, my surroundings, to how I feel, to what's on the song, like, anything and everything. And first first up, the first thing I noticed was the animals. Now, everyone, I don't know if it's common knowledge or not, but animals come out at nighttime because the humans go to bed and it's peaceful and dark and, less activity. And so more animals come out at night. I know this. That is knowledge that we know. But the extent of animals that I have been within a foot with is bizarre. And I would go through themes. Like a few days, it would be the bunnies. And then the next few days, it was like raccoons. I mean, it was mainly bunnies, raccoons. I had fox recently and possums. And there's been lots of bunnies. Bunnies, bunnies, bunnies. I love the bunnies. Call them my sweet babies. But I just started paying attention to them. And it was interesting because I would see the same animals and they'd be in their same spots. And I really just connected with them. And it was a matter of, so this was leading up to the 4th of July. And I talked about this on another episode. And it was really leading me up to just see different things with the animals that were connecting pieces to my guides. So my guides were working with the animals, essentially, is what I just said. But I started having conversations with a different council of these animals. And my guides brought in a new guide that said, this guide is here to work with you. They're going to introduce you to some other guides and you're going to do some work with them. And that is when I got a lot of information about earth codes and how they affect the animals and how they protect the animals and how we need more people to work with the earth codes and the Council of Animals to essentially protect them. And the earth, as much as, we can help Mother Earth and heal Mother Earth, she is still divinely protecting all of us, and including the animals. So the first month or so, it was a lot of observing and a lot of receiving. I'm doing a paper route, right? Which is I don't know, I would get 2,500 steps and before I'm done, right? Before 5:30. And it's if you're active, it's not like a workout, but it's activity, And so I was doing that at the same time, my guides are just hanging out with me and I'm channeling this energy. And in the beginning, it was I'll do the paper route and I'd come home and I would have some time before everyone would wake up. And that's when I just would channel all these downloads and just things would start clicking, why I saw what. And it was really a matter of just remaining open, okay, and what am I here to witness? What am I here to do? And it was just, miraculous to get this information, to witness what I was seeing. And my clairvoyance really turned on. I have always resonated with clairsentience, with clairaudience, and claircognizance, of course, but clairvoyance was probably last on my list, and it has been so activated, next level. And I feel that was one of the things that one of the reasons I needed to be in this paper route, was to show that like this gift is here, and like I had to see it, I don't know, at nighttime, like in the dark, the animals, like it was just a unique experience. And it was almost like this, like I'm getting like a balloon, like this slow release of like air, but like, you know, this slow like coming to terms with this gift. And it was so cool. It was like I was just so excited to get up and do my paper route. Like this actually makes a lot of sense, because it reminds me of like my childhood. My best friend growing up, her mom did paper routes, and like my friend did with her. And like I would do it a couple, like when I spent the night, I would do it with them. And there was just something about like one, that bonding moment, but like, you know, everyone else is asleep and we're here like just doing our thing. And I don't know what it was. It was really kind of like nostalgic for me. And then like playing with the animals and like connecting with the animals, if something I did as a kid and like didn't think anything about it. And you know, that gift isn't probably accepted by many if I were to start talking about it as a kid or now. So it was very cool and just very like freeing. I felt like I was coming out of a shadow. If I don't know what that means exactly, but I felt like I was almost standing behind somebody, and like I stepped around them, and like, oh, like this is what it feels like to be seen. But it was weird because, you know, it's with the paper route at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it was just cool. I was just so excited, especially in the beginning. And this is when I was introduced to the Council of Animals, or the Animal Council, and that has been a blessing. What a gift to be able to connect with them. And I have learned a lot. Like I said, it was a lot of observing and a lot of just like being in the energy. And I mentioned this before. I need to look at what podcast episode that was, but I had like, when I come across new guides or new energies, I like to just observe. Like I pay attention to how I feel, to what they're showing, what they're expressing, what's their energy, like what does it look like, what does it feel like, what's it sound like, all the things, like using all my different senses. And it was a lot of like attending council meetings. Like I just had to get in the energy of what they were doing, and what, like, you know, like, why am I here? Like for me to know why I'm here, I couldn't start like asking them questions. I just had to pay attention. And my guides were always with me in these meetings as well, and like kind of like backstorying what was happening. And my guides were basically like, you're gonna need everything you need to know. Like you're gonna know everything you need to know, like when you need it. Like don't ask questions right now. So like I really had to practice just like being and observing, which I had fun. Like I had fun doing. It was like I was in school again almost. And so it was like a big lesson of just pay attention and see how things actually play out, and see how things are working together. And we want to like compartmentalize, like I want to use my intuition for this and this and this, or like, but leave this out of it. And it's like my observation and everything that happened with my paper route, I was like, nothing can be left out. Like nothing's off limits. And so like that's where the fear really comes up for a lot of people, is because they want to be intuitive, they want to follow their intuition, but they have these walls of like, but it has to stay right here in this area of my life. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. Because if we're so like focused and so like, but only over here, that's very scarcity mindset. Like that's like limiting the gift, the ability. And if something needs to shift in this little area, but you're not ready to see it in this little area, like it's gonna want to show up over here. So being open and following my intuition, it was like a whole, like, it was just like opening a chest of toys, like of gifts, right? So yeah, the first month, it was a lot of high vibes, like just so, like, I was learning so much, I was witnessing so much. Like I said, my clairvoyance was off the roof. Like, I was seeing all kinds of things. Episode 34. Yeah, that's where I share about the animal council, and I talk about the work we did for the 4th of July in that episode, but I'll mention it briefly here. If you want to hear more, then go back to that episode. Essentially, by the 4th of July, well, by like the 2nd of July, I was able to hold, I mean, we all are, but I was trained to hold earth codes to a certain angle. And what this does, it allows me to like move them. And it was important to be on my paper route because I needed to move them to specific locations that were actually on my paper route. And so basically what it looks like when I move them, though, it's like widening the plane that it covers. Like the earth codes are like dispersed everywhere, right? Because earth. And what Mother Earth and Animal Council were asking for help was to essentially like thicken the layers, the support for the 4th of July, the earth codes. So the earth codes that are specific in the United States for the 4th of July are different than like everyday earth codes that are sent out for the animals. And so I did a lot of this quote unquote training leading up to the 4th of July. And on the morning of July 2nd, they're like, you are going to do this tomorrow and the next day, and it's going to help these animals and just show them where they can go to be protected, to feel safe, to be nurtured during the next 48 hours or so. And on the morning of the 3rd, it went great. I did it. No, but I got another message that it's actually not going to be as bad of an impact for the animals as it normally would. And at that moment, I was like, what does that mean? Okay. Like 4th of July canceled? Like, what does this mean? I don't get it. But actually weather was storming, and I still did this because what happens is like the healers and the trees, all the entities that are helping with the earth codes, like it doesn't help just in your location. It helps to anchor in the earth codes where they're being dispersed, because that grounds in more energy to then disperse more other places. And so still obviously needed, but it was so cool to just like tap in and know like, okay, where are the earth codes coming through right now, and where can they be anchored in to be like another source of disbursement. I'm lacking the words here. So that was really fun. I don't know, like it was just so cool to hear about and so cool to serve, honestly. Like, and this is the thing, right? Because I was like, I didn't want to wake up and serve a bunch of other people, or like take up my time serving a bunch of other people, or using up a lot of my creative energy. And here I was like on this paper route at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it's like, I am doing something that I absolutely love. I could do this all day long. And like, this is the work. As an intuitive, like there are things that you can do Like as a psychic, I have gifts that like aren't part of this realm, that aren't part of the 3D. And but they are. But they are like laughing at me. They're like, that's such a silly way to say that. But it according to my human self, right? They don't seem connected to my 3D experience. And it's the same with like, I have friends, I know people that help with people in the underworld, helping people pass on, or there's like messengers. And like sometimes the message isn't delivered, or there's people helping with in between lives. Or one of my past lifetimes, like it was literally helping people process their incarnation and just like debriefing, so like there's these things that we have the gifts for, like we have the abilities to do that don't necessarily make a connection with what we're doing here, but it completely fills us up. And that was this. And I was like, I could do this work all day. Like, let's just keep going. But it was so cool to just be in that experience. And so, really this paper route, it turned on gifts for me. It introduced me to the Council of Animals. It introduced me to a new guide. And I mean, really the whole council's new guides for me. But it was just so like refreshing to know that like I entered this situation with really no expectations. I was like, I know I'm meant to be here, but I have no idea what's going to happen. And I'm not trying to guess what's going to happen. I just knew, the only thing I knew was this is showing me that I can be more intentional, that I can choose my priorities, and that when I make shifts and changes and I'm intentional, my life is literally blown up. Like it's literally just like a miracle. And I think that like this is one example to just say like, where are you trying to plan everything out? Like, where are you already saying no to things because you think it's only going to get you this, or it only comes with this package? And it's like, we're bundling things in our life where, oh, if I commit to this, then that has to take away from this. Or if I commit to this, then this is the only thing I'm going to get out of it. And it's like, where are we setting ourselves up to not get the gifts in life? Where are we limiting the miracles happening for us? Like, we want to figure out everything before it happens, and we want to know what to expect, but it's like, that doesn't always serve us. If I went into this begrudgingly and was like, I guess I'm doing this paper out, and let me just put on the same music, something I want to go back to, but like put on the same music, do the same things every time, I would have had a very different experience. If I would have taken on all the opinions that I received after I shared I was doing a paper route, then I would have had a very different experience. So I just want to share this because it's like, being intuitive, honestly, this wouldn't have happened if I didn't have all the years of practicing being intuitive, like with smaller decisions, with what do I want to wear? What do I want to eat? Do I want to go to this place? Do I want to answer yes to this invite? Like, all the small decisions allows you to be intuitive with big things. Like, yes, I know starting a paper route does not make any logical sense to anyone else in my life, but I know that I am meant to do it and I'm going to do it. And that was the decision. And that's why the time frame worked out. That's why I had the support of my family. That's why I went into it with ease. That's why I only had to go one day with another person. That is why things just started turning on right away. Like, when you decide with confidence that like, I'm doing this, and you don't listen to the objections and the opinions, or well, this might happen, or what are you going to get out of that besides however much money every couple weeks? Like, there's so many ways that we just limit the gifts and the miracle is happening right in front of us. So being open, following your intuition really leads you to witness the miracles and the magic of life. And for me, it was coming back to the connectedness of everything. And it just grounds me in, and like everything literally is energy, like literally everything. And all of us are so connected. And it's like, I wouldn't have been able to witness that if I wasn't paying attention, if I wasn't open to just like see what this is all about. And I will be the first to admit, like, I'm someone who's like, if I don't like it, then I'm going to change my mind. I can get out. I can peace out. Like, that is always my thing. Like, why am I not going to try something that clearly my body is telling me to do? Like, my intuition is like, take a paper route. Like, why not try it? And I had to try it without thinking about all the things that could make it miserable. Because trust me, like, my ego is like, hey, there's this. Hey, there's this. Hey, you can't do this now. Hey, like all the things. But I really had to lower the volume of that and just remember why I stepped into it. And I knew there were some miracles happening. So one of the shifts that I noticed was, because I really think the timing was important for the 4th of July, but I listened to a lot of like binaural beats, instrumental music. And then near the middle of July, I got into more like audiobooks and personal development. Like, I spend a lot of my time. So this is the thing that you don't really think about, because in the beginning, I really needed no consumption. Like, there were times where I didn't listen to a single thing. I had my windows down. I was literally listening to the animals, my guides. And then I added in some music here and there, but I really didn't consume much in the first month, except what the conversations and whatnot with the animals and guides. So as that slowed down and this became more of a natural thing and more of like, hey, this needs to be adjusted or this needs to happen today, it really was like what I grounded in, like the energy that I grounded in might have changed from day to day for the earth codes, but it was personal. It also served me, but it also just became easier, more second nature. And it was still very intentional. But then I noticed it was like a shift of like, okay, you're familiar with what you're doing. What else do you want to do right now? And so then I did start listening to some podcasts, some audiobooks. And one, this helped me because I needed to listen to some things to get some credit for some other things. But I was then reminded, it's like, okay, where am I doing this or trying to do this? Like, consume podcasts or audiobooks during my day where I'm actually not receiving them. And like doing that in the morning, it actually cleared up a lot of the time I spent like listening to stuff during the day, which might not seem like a big deal for anyone else. But for me, this was huge because there's a lot of noise during the day for me anyway, between kids and dogs and work, like my phone. And, like there's just a lot of noise. And I was also trying to consume like some of my higher vibe content during the day, which I still do sometimes, but having that space to do it in the morning when nobody's around, it was like another opportunity for me. It's like, if there's something that I really want to focus and focus on and consume, I need to do it alone. And I know this, my determination, my environment is kitchens and human design, but my determination is low, which is like sound, no sound. be quiet. You know, when I am like eating or consuming information, it's best for me to digest in low auditory environments. And so there's not much of that around during the day at my house. So it was interesting to just be able to see like, okay, what am I actually desiring to do or listen to, consume during this time where I'm actually in a higher state, right? Like my frequency is so high by the time it is about 3:45 in the morning every day. And you know, I bring that back down when I need to. And I actually don't think there's been a single day where once I was there, I wasn't like Gucci. I wasn't good. And there was one time where I had a hard time getting up, and that was because of personal choices that I made. And it was very evident that I was never going to do that again. Because that was a struggle. And that morning I wasn't as connected, which was fine, right? Like that it's not bad, but I just learned. I was like, okay, that's not what I want to do. And so anyway, all of this story time to say is like, this is really where something happened in my life, and I just let it unfold. And I cleared out the noise and the clutter of everyone else and their opinions. And I just stuck true to what I knew. And that's when I was really able to experience everything that I needed to. And this is why I love sharing the power of like trusting yourself, following your intuition, having confidence in your decisions. Because life is so much more fun. You get to experience things and just honestly, for me, it's like about feeling multidimensional. Like I am multidimensional. And sometimes in this human experience, I get caught up and I don't remember that. Like I don't feel that in my body all the time until I ground in, until I come back to myself. And, you know, what this was really showing me was the intention of your day, of, I mean, your life, but it starts with your day is to wake up and decide, how do you want to show up? How do you want to feel? What frequency do you want to set today? Because we have that power. And yes, there are human things that can rock that. But when you start your day like that, you can come back to that. And the more you strengthen that muscle of coming back to that frequency, the easier it gets. And I will say, if you are setting your frequency to a higher frequency every day, or just whether it is gratitude, joy, love, peace, ease, rest, flow, I don't even know, whatever word you want to associate and pick a frequency, you know, the more you do that and the more you have this intention of it being from love and light, your intuitive channel is just like opening and opening and opening more and more. And that's where it gets really playful. It gets fun. Like I could not have done this paper route if I took it seriously. Like if I was like, I'm going to wake up at this time and I have to have this ready and this ready. And you know, like I've really been a kid through this. It's almost like I'm like a teenager with my first job or something. I would pack a cup of fruit. It was very clear I needed fruit. I needed carbs, high vibe, right? Fruit, high vibe. And like I would pack a little cup of fruit, put it in the fridge so it was ready for me. And I actually learned right away that I needed to stretch before leaving. And sometimes, you know, I would do it on the way, but there were these things that like I didn't even think about doing them, but when I started doing them, I was like, oh, this is making it like one step easier, like 1 inch closer to whatever, you know. And it was like getting prepared with a snack, like a snack that I knew I could eat, that wasn't going to weigh me down, that wasn't going to bring down my vibe or anything. And it happened to be fruit. Of course, this happens during the summer where there's lots of fruit available for me, but I also knew that this was going to affect my boundaries. Like, I'm just like thinking about all the things that have shifted since I've done this. I've had to implement new boundaries, new ways of communicating, taking care of myself in new ways, like stretching and eating food. Like, I can say that, but like, this was nope. The next day, it just started. Like, it was like activation, activation, activation after another. And it was activating these changes within me to show me how powerful I am. And it was so cool. Like, it is still so cool. I knew that just as well as I was guided to enter this experience, I would be guided out. And I have been. I've been guided to end my paper route. And, part of me is excited. Just because I know that the completion of this is also going to be an initiation of some sort, and to be open of like, okay, what comes next? And like, it might mean like, I literally cannot think about what I'm going to do when I'm going to wake up. Like, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to plan. I don't want to do anything yet. I still have a few more weeks with this, maybe not. I don't know. Because see, here's the thing with me as a manifesting generator, I'm going to wrap up soon, but as a manifesting generator, once I make a decision, I'm really ready to move. And it's almost like there's no stopping me. And I also understand, like, when you put in a notice, like, you got that time. But I did have some thoughts. So I put in my notice, which happens to be a 30-day notice for this. And I am a person of somewhat has integrity, and I wanted to give them notice, and I knew that, and like, I know the 30 days, very aware of that in my mind. And one morning there was like this thought of like, why 30 days? Because I started meeting myself with some resistance, like mental clutter too, like papers delivered to the wrong houses and just like things happening. I was like, what is happening? Like, I'm still here. I'm still doing this. And, there's other ways to exit a job. I understand this. But I was like, nope, I put in my 30 days. But why is it 30 days? I just kind of had this thought. And I kid you not 30 seconds later, my district manager texts me and was like, hey, if somebody can take your route before your 30 days is up, would you like to be relieved early? Why, yes, I would accept that. Of course I would accept that, because I was just thinking and feeling like I had the emotion of like, the next 30 days can't go like this. Like, because it was almost a frustrated, like, moment where I had made like quote unquote mistakes. Like, granted, I could fix it. I went back and did it correctly, but it was just like this moment of frustration of like, is this how it's going to be the next 30 days? Because I prefer not. And then I get that text and it was like, oh, there's possibilities here. So it's like through and through this whole experience, we are reminded to remain open and be surprised. Like, there were things that I got, I had no idea. Like, there was a signing bonus. I got a gift card. I got an extra $250. Like, things just happened. Like, this was like, follow your intuition and see what manifests, because it is fun. It's just like, if you really take that observation role, like, you get to observe yourself. This is what living in the now is, and it's my jam, I will tell you that. But you get to observe yourself, like, witnessing miracles, receiving, manifesting. Like, of course, a part of me knew, like, okay, I'm going to be paid for this, but this was not about the money. It was a nice thing, but not about the money. I go in here and then I learn about a bonus and I'm like, holy cow. So this is, I don't know, I guess an invitation to give your intuition a bigger stage. Just explore and remain open for miracles, because that is really how life is fun. It's so much fun. Okay. Is there anything that I forgot that I want to mention to wrap it up? This is definitely longer than I intended, but I guess you know me and story time. I don't know if I am forgetting anything. It might just have to be in another episode, but probably not going to talk about my paper route anymore because I am wrapping it up. And I don't know, like, who knows what the next 3 weeks is going to bring. That could be exciting, you know? Who knows? Because like I said, this whole episode, am releasing all expectations. And I kind of love being in the unexpected. Like, there's some things I love planning and being in the knowing, but it's cool to have the knowing and not really know how it's going to be delivered. And that's what your intuition is all about. So, all right, if you guys enjoyed this episode, please let me know. And if you are listening on Apple iTunes, I would love to see a review, or you can leave a comment, a rating. That's what I'm trying to think of. Go ahead and do that. That really helps out the show and just makes it more visible. And if you happen to share on social media, just take a screenshot and you can tag at the Intuition Playground. And I will love to see all the things that you guys share about. But otherwise, don't be a stranger. Come say hi, and don't forget to visit theintuitionplayground.com for more resources and tools to help you integrate your intuition and understand your human design. All right, we will talk to you all next time on the playground. Bye.